Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, David. This is Pat Kent. I'm on the board of Raison d'Etre Opera, which is a local company providing opportunities for seasoned performers. And this is Pat's Perspectives. Today, I'm talking with David Toro, who is the director of Minnesota Opera's season opener, Cruzar la Cara de la Luna. David is a trained opera singer and has a doctorate in directing. Is that correct? From
the University of Texas.
In addition to this production with Minnesota Opera, other productions with Minnesota Opera, he has worked at the Wexford Opera Festival, Central City Opera, Opera Saratoga, Pittsburgh Festival Opera, and Opera Neo. And actually, I worked with David in a production with Ann Opera Theater here in the Twin Cities, their inaugural performance, which was Menotti's The Consul. His production of Philip Glass's Les Enfants Terribles was nominated for Best Opera by the Austin Cities Critics, and his production of Dinner at 8 got a nomination for Best Opera Production by the Irish Times. I went to the season sampler at Minnesota Opera, and I really enjoyed the excerpt from Cruzar la Cara de la Luna. So I think the title, I looked it up, Crossing the Face of the Moon, is that a fairly okay translation?
Yeah, to cross the face of the moon, yeah.
Okay. I wonder if you could tell us a little more about the story of the opera, which I thought was really intriguing. I read what the synopsis was on the website, which I understand is the very first mariachi opera.
Especially the first of the collaboration between Leonard Folia and Pepe.
Okay.
This story, let's see, with or without spoilers.
I don't know. I'll let you decide because I want people to go.
Okay. It's about this family, the Velasquez family, and it starts in the last days of Laurentino Velasquez's life. He's suffering dementia. He's deteriorating really quickly. And during this period, he has revealed that he had another family down in Mexico. The story initially takes place in the US, but he reveals that he has this family down in Mexico, and he's only been dropping little hints. And so his granddaughter, Diana, has been investigating this, and his son, Mark, has been kind of resisting it. Mm-hmm. And over the course of the opera, we learn about that previous family, that life he had in Mexico. He had a wife named Renata, whom he loved very much. His best friend Chucho convinced him to join the Bracero program, which was a program that would bring in immigrants from Mexico to work during the fields. It especially started during World War II, when a lot of the U.S. citizens were drafted into the army. They would bring workers in from Central America to work the fields, and it lasted a few decades after that as well. And so Laurentino joins the Bracero program, and more often he's returning back to Mexico less often. And in an effort to reunite her family, Renata takes their son and attempts to cross the border, finds a coyote to help her cross the border, and in doing so, she dies during transit. And so the opera itself shows us both Laurentino's memory, but also shows us Rafael, who's the son that was taken back to Mexico, and him revisiting those memories of his time with his mother in the attempt to cross. And then, like I said, the grandparents or the grandchildren are working together to reunite these two families.
Wow, that's a bigger story even than I got from the synopsis. I mean, and you can see both of the adult children, the one who wanted to investigate, who couldn't let it go, and the other one who, you can see the point of, I don't want to know about that. Mm-hmm. This is my father and my family.
And honestly, the two sons don't want to know about it. The older son back in Mexico wrote Laurentino out of his life after his mother passed away. And so it really is the granddaughters that are working very hard to reunite the family.
So they're the ones who are into the story,
Other and
the truth or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
That's very compelling.
Mhm.
So what would you say really draws you to this opera?
Oh, what first drew me to it was that I got a chance back in 2019 to assist the second of the mariachi operas, which is called El Pasado Nunca Se Termina, by the same artist, same composer. And it was it was a life-changing event for me, to be honest. It was the first time I was in a room with other Latinos in this art form over a scope of a diverse scope of backgrounds. Like there were people from Central and South America, there were people from Puerto Rico, people who were first, second, and like me, third generation, all in one room telling this story about family and about heritage. And then also just seeing it with mariachi music, which I tell this story a lot, but like the first concert I ever went to was Mariachi USA. My grandparents took me at the Hollywood Bowl when I was very young. My grandfather played mariachi. He had a shop in South Central. He built lamps. And so he always had mariachi playing in the shop, and then he would play it on Sundays in the garage. So having this art form that's kind of not just a strong part of my heritage, but just a strong part of my family, combined with opera and brought together, I don't really have the words to put it. It connected, it clicked with me. And I knew that I wanted to start telling these stories, not like the mariachi trilogy, but also looking for other stories that tell about the Latino experience in the US, the Latino heritage and mythologies and all that, and how that can expand within the American opera repertory.
That's really interesting. I think of mariachi. I think of it as party music. I think.
And that's
Yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, and that's the thing, is that a lot of time mariachi, especially in like US media, it is treated like it's party music or like a joke. A lot of time it tends to be treated like it's intrusive, it's loud, it's out of tune. But there are so many different colors within the music. Sometimes it's bright and it's active. It can be very romantic. It can be very mournful. It's such a beautiful art form, and these operas treat it with the dignity it deserves.
I one of the first experiences I had is a friend of mine married a man who was Mexican American, and as a surprise for her at the end of the wedding, so they're going out, and he has a mariachi band come in, and they're playing this romantic ballad at the back of the church. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. It was just so sweet and so romantic. And then I did a little research on Jose Pepe Martinez and went into the YouTube dark hole and listened to some of so he ended up playing in Mariachi Vargas de Tecalatian. Is that right? Tecalatian?
Tecalatian, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's where he grew up, but he didn't start playing in that. He ended up playing that. And it seems like that's really what I was impressed with. It. It's super virtuosic. It's like you have the violins. At one point, the violinists all put down their fiddles and they start singing really well in 4/part harmony. And it's just like very, really high level, like brilliant. Now, virtuosic is the word that keeps coming back to me, and so I started listening to that, and then I wanted to say, I went to the season like sampler, the Luminary Art Center, and I really enjoyed listening to the excerpt. And I thought the interesting thing to me is there's an intensity and brilliance about that, and it's all like treble. Everything sits high, and it's a really strong treble brilliance, let's say. And then you have the world of opera, which is we all work to get that balanced resonance and all that kind of stuff. And to me, that's what's going to be interesting about hearing it live with orchestra in the pit is, getting that. I mean, because really it's bringing those worlds together, right? And they have commonalities.
And I wasn't there for the sampler, so I'm not sure what they had there. But so this is lead to what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This is the first orchestration of La Cruzar la Cara de la Luna. It's written originally for a full mariachi ensemble, and so this is the first time it's being orchestrated full orchestra, as well as 3 onstage banda that play the 3 guitars that don't exist in the orchestra. So the guitar, the guitarrón, and the vihuela. And we've been rehearsing with our 3 mariachis these last couple weeks, and they bring that bass. When you hear the guitarrón, it just grounds you. It sounds so beautiful.
Cool.
So it'll be. I'm looking forward to hearing what it sounds like with the full orchestra and the 3 mariachis, because that is going to be a fantastic balance,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's playing the little one, the little guitar. What's it called?
The vihuela. I studied French, so I always wonder the vihuela. There we go.
Vihuela. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I just I'm so intrigued by this. And you talked briefly about the librettist for this opera, who I don't know anything about.
Leonard Folia is he is a theater stage director, very famous stage director, and a playwright, obviously, and librettist. And when it comes to opera, he primarily does new works. I believe he was on the premiere of like Moby Dick.
Okay.
But he's written the libretti for all 3 of these mariachi operas, and he draws even from his own family's immigrant experiences into them. In the second opera, El Pasado Nunca Se Termina, there's a storyline where a man's grandfather drew this map and was telling his grandson to go there, go back to Mexico, go where this place was. And Lenny was saying that's what happened in his family. He brings a fantastic amount of heart to these stories. These stories are, they're pretty compact. There's like Cruzar is probably about 75 minutes, but in that time he creates well-rounded people, and like it doesn't feel like you're just getting a sampler of a story. Like he writes beautifully and condensed.
I'm excited. I really am. I think there's something about that going home thing. When my mother when she was very ill toward the end of her life, I told her I was going to France, and she took out a map, same thing, and said, that's where our people come from. You should go there. It didn't work out, and I felt really bad about it, but it's like I think there's that pull, that pull for home that happens, when you're young. You just want to move forward, move forward. And I think later you start to feel that pull. So it just sounds like such a compelling opera. I'm really excited to see it.
It really is. I also like to just tell how beautiful it is. Very diverse within its own Mexican heritage. So it's about a Mexican family, but within that you have the wide diversity of it. You have part of the family that's from and still in Mexico. You have the man who immigrated. You have the first generation and the second generation children, which is not honestly often depicted in media. Usually when a lot, at least in my experience, and it's changing, of course, but growing up, especially when there are depictions of Latinos on TV, they're usually always the immigrant. They don't speak English well. And even going into the 21st century, a lot of stories focus solely on immigration, but not beyond that.
Right.
What's beautiful about this opera is that this opera has an immigration story, but it's about a family seeking reconciliation.
That's a universal story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. That's great. Well, I'm grateful for you for hanging with me for a little while, and we're gonna put this up, and I checked, and there's tickets left. There's tickets left for each performance, so I'm going to encourage people to go and see this beautiful production. I'm really excited for it myself, and very thankful that I got to learn a little more about it from you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great story, really, for people new to the opera and returning to the opera. It has all the grandeur of opera, but for people who haven't seen it, it's a great or who haven't seen much opera, it's a great introductory. It's very digestible, and you can't beat an hour and 15 minutes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can think of some people that I can't usually get to go. I might be able to get to go if I use that enticement.
Right.
So I really appreciate talking to you today, David. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.